with the vet, like they know. They'll act stupid, they'll play possum, they'll act like they're tired, fatigued, and the next you know, boom, that triangle's coming. Throwing elbows, making him respect you, making him think that everything is okay, and then bah, elbow to the noggin. I remember I've known Bo Nickal since he was a kid. Him and my nephew Adrian used to be in the same weight classes. Except he went up, he ended up growing, and my nephew stayed the same damn weight, so they never saw each other. So now my nephew probably calls him daddy. What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Keys to Victory. And today's episode of Keys to Victory, I'm going to be breaking down Bo Nickal. Guys, he has the biggest fight of his career. He's fighting Paul Craig. If you guys didn't know, this guy has the only defeat for a guy like Uncle Live when he eventually ended up getting his triangle choke and tapped him out at 4 minutes and 59 seconds. Again, guys, this episode wouldn't be possible without our sponsor. That's right, I'm talking about F3. It's not just fuel, it's energy until I'm finished. So you guys make sure to go to f3.com and get your fuel on. Okay, so here we have it. Bo Nickal, age 28, height 6'1", reach. Man, he's got a longer reach than Mike Tyson. And he's a middleweight. Typically what I like to do is I like to bring up his last 5 fights, but he only has 6 fights in total. His first fight he won via knockout. I want to say it was less than 30 seconds. But submission over Cody Brundage, which he kind of struggled with a little bit, kind of over wrestled a little bit. You can tell that if you know, luckily he's 28, but with all that squeezing that Bo Nickal does, he's going to have to be careful because that stuff will add up. And particularly when you start going to wars with guys like a guy like Paul Craig that knows how to defend and will scramble. And then, yeah, let's not forget that KO versus Val Woodburn. You know, a little short black guy, and he was able to, it seemed like Bo Nickal wanted to kind of strike with him, but that wasn't the case. Bo Nickal ended up touching him up, boom, ended up stopping him. You know, sometimes, you know, was it a fluke? I don't know. He did throw the punches, and he ended up catching them. But I want to see a little bit more of that striking with Bo Nickal. And then let's not forget about Pickett. I mean, submission. I want to say the submission came pretty early. Took him down, took his damn back, choked him out. You know, Bo Nickal is a rise, but how good is Bo Nickal really? Is he another hype train to all you people? I will say this as a wrestler, this guy's accolades are absolutely ridiculous. A 3-time NCAA champion, 4-time finalist. I mean, guys, you would almost want to say that he's one of the, he's at least top 10, if not top 5 greatest college wrestlers of all time. Like, serious. I remember I've known Bo Nickal since he was a kid. Him and my nephew Adrian used to be in the same weight classes. Except he went up, he ended up growing, and my nephew stayed the same damn weight, so they never saw each other. So now my nephew probably calls him daddy. But that being said, what are the keys to Bo Nickal against a dangerous guy like Paul Craig? Because you got to remember, guys, I'm going to say it again, is Paul Craig did defeat Magomed Ankalaev. This is the only reason why Ankalaev has that one loss is because of Paul Craig. And you know how it was? Via triangle. So what are the keys to victory for a guy like Bo Nickal? If he caught Ankalaev, he'll catch you too. Do not rush into transitions. Do not rush in is what I'm saying is going for a takedown right away. You go for a takedown right away against a guy that's a submission threat, whether you're sweaty, whether you're cold, whether you're hot, I wouldn't do it because that's the time that a guy like Paul Craig is very, very dangerous. So you're gonna have to anticipate him anticipating you for certain things. And you're gonna really have to work on those defense and pretty much college folk style wrestling. I do believe that he's too smart, even though he's even though he's got 6 fights in him, he's fighting a vet like Paul Craig, who has over 20-some fights. I mean, it is what it is. Do not engage in Craig's guard. And what I'm saying here, he's gonna have to punish him. He's gonna have to, if he does take him down, he's gonna have to posture up, hand fight. Don't let any of his limbs come together, his hands come together, nor his legs. Boom, you have to break him down the middle, throwing elbows, making him respect you, making him think that everything is okay, and then bah, elbow to the noggin, right? To soften somebody up a little bit more too is get him close to the cage. Get him to the cage, I'm sorry. Get him to the cage, apply that pressure, and start kneeing him to the thigh, stomping on his feet. Do whatever it is that you actually have to do, but you have to hurt him, soften him up. That's like what Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until they get hit in the mouth. Once you hit somebody in the mouth, it changes everything. Does Bo Nickal have that experience to take a bigger man? A guy went from light heavyweight to middleweight. Could he bully him, get him against the cage, beat him up, soften him up, and then bring in the takedowns? And then the other plan. I always feel like people have 2 plans whenever it is that they actually compete. You have 2 plans. On one of them, you stick to the game plan that you and your coaches have. And then on the other one, you're gonna have to bring out the kitchen sink and hurt somebody and go for broke to actually beat somebody, because plans typically, you may have a plan, but you always want to abandon a good plan for a greater opportunity. So 1, listen to your coaches, do all that. But then 2, you're gonna have to keep it on your feet. You're gonna have to keep it on your feet, because with the vet, like, they know, they'll act stupid, they'll play possum, they'll act like they're tired, fatigued, and the next you know, boom, that triangle's coming. So you're gonna really have to be careful, because now you're stepping up to another level of the game. So here we have it, Bo Nickal versus Craig. I mean, what are some of Craig's strengths? One is his experience. I think that's one thing that you got to put into a factor with a guy that only has 6 pro MMA fights. Like, I was nowhere near, when I was 6-0, I was nowhere near what I was, fighting for the championship. Like, there's so much growth, but there's so much belief. I mean, Bo Nickal has been part of, he grew up in New Mexico, went to Rio Rancho High School. He knows John Jones. Like this guy has been around MMA, so he's seen Carlos Condit, GSP, Yoel Romero. Like, he knows, like, everybody knows this kid because they saw him growing up, and then now he's in the big leagues with the big dogs. Paul Craig is fighting a guy like Bo Nickal. He's really gonna have to anticipate this guy. If I'm almost Paul Craig and I'm fighting Bo Nickal, I would rush him right away. I would look for a takedown. See if this guy sprawls or gets him off of him. Depending on what he does, go to your guard. I'm gonna find different positions to literally go for my guard, because this guy more likely is gonna probably want to take it on his feet and really start picking his shots. And it's a good challenge for him, because it nullifies a little bit of that wrestling, and now we're gonna see a little bit of more of what his striking is. How good is Bo Nickal really? The other thing that we have to realize about Paul Craig is he's been in there with the who's, and that has a lot to do with it. He would never take this fight. And you know what the UFC's doing is they're trying to build him. They're building a guy like Bo Nickal because they want, and they're giving him the right opponent, but that's also where people are going to be able to see his striking. I personally like this fight. And I personally, for being 6-0, it takes a whole bunch of balls. But people, we have to remember too that Paul Craig is no schmuck, if I could say that. Can I say that? He's being Shogun Rua. He's being Jamal Hill. I believe it or not, and I'm gonna say it for the 3rd time, he beat Magomed Ankalaev. For a guy that's 6-0 right now, that is making that jump into a guy who is beating former champions and contenders, okay, that's a big step up for Bo Nickal. But I also do believe that the UFC, they have a certain game plan for him because they do like him. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a God-fearing man, very well spoken. He's a good guy that's very confident, that will call out a guy like Khamzat Chimaev. So for that reason, I've been there before. How can I ever count a wrestler out? Like, he is, to me, you can put all these guys in front of him, but my biggest thing is, could Bo Nickal really take his time with it too? Because he is taking a step up with this guy. You know, with the guy from Scotland, the guy is close to William Wallace. Could he fight a little bit more, but fight lesser opponents? I would rather have him fight more, but lesser opponents. I mean, he's going up again. He's taking a big step in competition. Will he beat him? I do believe so. I really do, just based on good defense wrestling, just on youth, on the momentum kind of going. I mean, there's a lot of factors for Bo Nickal, but the future is bright for him. But we are going to find out how good Bo Nickal really is. Come up at UFC 309. And this episode wouldn't be possible without our sponsor. That's right, I'm talking about F3. It's not just energy, it's fuel until I am damn finished. So you guys make sure to go to f3energy.com and get your fuel on. I'm out.